Howdy, mates. Good late morning. How are we doing today? It marks Saturday, October 12th, 2024, and I'm just over on what is known as the South Kaibab Trail. And in particular, I'm near what is called Skeleton Point. In terms of like how the location gets its name, I'm not really sure, but I know how the trail gets its name. It's named after a particular rock that's found in this region, which is known as the Kaibab uh, limestone. There we go. I had to make sure I had the correct one. You can see it a little bit, especially on the north rim. Typically makes up the uppermost layer of the canyon. Layers, indeed. It's like cake, but on a much more grand scale. See what I did there? Play on words. But where we are for the most part in terms of rock strata, this is most likely Coco Nino sandstone, which is basically named after a region of Arizona. You figure some of the first known Europeans who helped map this area included an explorer named Francisco Coronado. Yeah, Francisco de Vázquez Coronado. He came through here with the other fellow conquistadors back in the 16th century. But it wasn't really mapped out until the 19th century, in which John Wesley Powell came through the area. And he also brought another fellow individual, Thomas Moran, who I'm sure you've heard that name before, some of you. He was a painter at the time, but he was also an advocate for nature. And so he was both of them were some of those individuals who were like really pushing towards those first parks to become protected, even before the National Park Service formed as an agency. For the longest time before the National Park Service, the appointed individuals who protected the lands were mostly the United States Army. This was before 1916, in which the Organic Act came into play. And that was how the NPS formed under President Woodrow Wilson. But aside from that, those two individuals, along with a fellow naturalist who I will include his name because I cannot remember off the top of my head, they really brought the Grand Canyon into fruition for travelers. But the thing is, the Grand Canyon as a whole has existed for millennia. It was even used by indigenous people even before this area became a park unit. Some of the tribes that still call this place home, and even did back then, were the Paiute, the Hopi, Navajo, and among others, Apache. Quite a few separate tribes, because, well, the Grand Canyon is very vast as it is. It stretches for over 200 miles. So what you're seeing here is only just a little section of it. In other words, it's only a slice of that cake. But then you look down, and there is the one and only Colorado River. And if I maybe shift my perspective a little bit, you see a bit of that greenery down there, down into the canyon? Well, that section is known as Phantom Ranch, which for the most part was used by herders back in the day. But it's also a camping unit. Typically, from the rim to get to Phantom Ranch, it's about 7 miles one way. And so, unfortunately, I won't be able to make it down there just because the elevation change alone is over 4,000 feet. And 7 miles one way, you would have to stay overnight. So, unfortunately, since it was a little bit of a more somewhat last minute deal, I wasn't really able to get a permit for it because you need to have one. But anywho, this is so neat. Just like I said, to be in its presence, the grandness of it. Very grateful to have the opportunity. All right, you guys, have a good one. Take care. Journey on a Journey is onwards. See ya.